Okay, so we're gonna do a deep fake lab today. This is brand new this semester. Sorry, I took a little bit of time to work out the bugs on it, but it's work in progress. So I wanted to give you something that is a little bit more current and then integrate, how you can use AI in investigation and also security. Deepfake is becoming more popular as you have more tools to be able to create deepfake. And I just closed my lab, so let me reopen it. Okay, so we are going to use Linux, and easiest is Kali Linux, right? You don't necessarily have to use Kali Linux because um, just any Debian or even Ubuntu will probably be okay. Should you be running AI stuff on a virtual machine? You can, but ideally you should run it on a regular system if you want to build out like models and things for some of these tools, right? So I have downloaded my Kali. I'm gonna use the one that I previously downloaded. So this is the 26 one. I extracted it. And then I have the extracted folder. So now, then I would open up VirtualBox and I added the machine. But before you run the machine, make sure that you give it more RAM and processor, and you can do that in settings. So just give it at least 8 gig. So this is like a slower quad-core machine, right? Like I told you, I've ran a large language model with Olama, with Python on a Raspberry Pi last summer. My students, they were able to build out a little chat bot. It was like a kid chat bot. And then you can train it to, so it start asking a lot of questions. You give it data and then it, and then it becomes like this entity. So that was kind of cool. So you can definitely use like GPU and other components of your system to do that. So once you have your virtual machine added and started, you can log in. And deepfake is more of a new coin term for media like images and video that is not authenticated or not shouldn't say authenticated. It's generated by AI. It's not originally um about the person or of the person, right? And the AI component is that it uses deep machine learning to be able to generate voice like celebrities or like you. Now the cyber criminals are using deepfake to commit crimes such as impersonating individuals in a phone call, um, you know, having instances with voice, video, or other things that would related or fabricate events, that could be related to news or other things. So there's like a lot of things that can be generated from deepfake in a malicious way. And so in cybersecurity, sometimes we have to determine what is deepfake and what is not, right? And how it's done is what is really about this class is that you want to know how and the components in deepfake in order to really understand and prevent it. And so with my virtual machine, I'm going to start with my terminal and I would need to run a quick update and upgrade. So, while it's doing that, we already talked about deepfake, right? So if you don't know about it, and I hope that this lab can introduce you to more details, at least the technical tools and the components that goes into it. Um, and it really depends on your data set that you are inspecting. So the ones that we're primarily working with today contains videos, and this data set is shared, right, through Kaggle, or you can also find GitHub repository that companies and researchers shared their data set. You can also create your own data set using some of the deepfake tool to create pictures or video or voice recording. Um, as I told you before, I have tested through one of the website. I wanted to see how accurate I am in identifying AI generated recording or real recording. And as I progress, right, it becomes more advanced and harder to detect. So someone can read a passage, right, and you have to determine whether it's a real person that did that or AI that did that. And some of them are very, very close. Now, with the current technology, you do see some good deepfake that is very realistic. And then you do see some deepfake that is flawed, where you can actually see, like, around their faces, their shadow that doesn't look real, or distortion in the image or video, right? So it really depends on the tool that they use to create the deepfake. And so what we're going to be using is we're going to use some of the tool to examine the data set, right? And then some of them are online tool, and then some of them, I'm in this particular lab, I did not integrate an exercise where you create deepfake. I'm sure you probably have seen I've seen apps on Android, iOS, on Apple and even Windows system for deepfake. So they are very, very popular, right? Open source or proprietary. Okay. So let me see, I have to press yes to continue with my update upgrade. So um, the tool that we're going to be using is ffmpeg. And this one contains library and tools for audio, video, subtitles, and metadata. When you are examining deepfake, you would look into these elements, right? Deepfake can be just recording. Deepfake can be video, right? Or it could be some generated information inside a video. But the metadata is the property of your media file. It tells you a lot more, right? So when we're comparing a real recording to an altered recording, the metadata is different. Okay, that's basically how you can distinguish between, if someone like a celebrity voice, that's the original recording, and if someone had taken that and use AI to regenerate it to say different things, right? Then when you look at the metadata, it is going to be different. Okay? The property of that file is different. So while I'm waiting, I'm going to come back to the lab assignment, and you can I'll show you where you can obtain the data set. And your data set is going to be this archive.zip. So if you have your USB, you can download and put it on the USB. If you don't have one, you want to borrow the school one, there's some in the back. You can also log into your virtual machine, open your browser, log into Canvas, and download the 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 data set. You just have to access the lab page to do that. So there's several ways. So what I did was I saved it to the USB, and I'm gonna mount it. So I can transfer. What's that you do? Is he there? So not located to buy or perhaps. So you can't right click, you just use unzip command action. Yeah, if it's compressed, it's not gonna do, it's gonna throw in there. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to I have my lab page, right? I'm gonna download this archive.zip to my host computer, which is the school computer. And then I'm going to put it on my USB and mount the USB to bring it into the virtual machine. So all you need to do is either download it inside the virtual machine by logging into Canvas, or you can download it on your host machine, your outside machine, like what I've done, right? It's in my downloads folder now. And I'm just going to copy this and put it on my USB drive, the little one that I gave you at the beginning of class. If you need to borrow one, there's some in the back. You just need to mount the USB. So you just need to go to the setting and add that USB like what you did with the wireless adapter in the last 2 weeks. So once you do that, your virtual machine would see the USB. When you're done, make sure you unmount the drive so your host computer can access it, right? Only one machine can use that drive at one time. So I have it now on my little USB, the U disk, right? The general U disk that I have. Yes. Yeah, you have to be in that folder. So yeah. So you have to do Deepfake and now you see. But you have to extract it and you have to make sure that you're in the right location. So if it says cannot find the file, that means that you're not in the right location. On your command, your pop-up in the terminal. Okay, so let's see how far we are with the. Okay, so I'm still at 23%. Now, you don't have to extract it on the outside, right? Once you put it on the USB, it's a lot quicker to transfer into the virtual machine when it's zipped, and we can unzip it with the unzip command in the terminal. Okay, so while it's doing that, you know that you can open other terminal window and do other things, right? It should be allowing you to do multitask. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mount my USB to put my data into my home directory while it's doing the upgrade, because that's gonna take like another 5 to 7 minutes. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So I have downloaded my data set, which contain the deepfake videos, and it's called archive, right? And it is a compressed file or folder. Then I'm going to come back to my virtual machine, and you just have to click devices, USB, and then find the USB that you're using. So if you're using the small USB that I gave you at the beginning of the semester, it's the general U disk. If you are using the school drive, it could be Western Digital, right? So you just need to add the USB. Now, if you don't want to use a USB, you open up your Firefox inside your virtual machine, and you just find Canvas, right? Put in the URL, log in, and access your lab, download it. That's another way. That's pretty easy. Okay. And the data set is not infected or anything crazy, so you don't have to be concerned about, you know, your credential and so on. Okay. So we talk about adding the device, the USB device, right? So that's what I did. I put it on my USB. So I added my USB. So once you do that, you're going to see the chicken foot USB symbol, which is here. It shows that I have a approximately under 32 gig drive volume here, right? And I can double click it to open, or I can go to a file system and then be able to access my drive. So if you need to transfer, you can just drag it to your home. So the whole idea is to get your data set, which is the archive.zip right here, into the virtual machine, but you need to put it under home. Home is like documents for your user in Linux. Okay? Yeah, it's still thinking. Maybe I should wait until the upgrade is done. Okay, so while it's doing that, we talked about how we can transfer the deepfake data set. I still need to install the tool, which is ffmpeg. So when you're analyzing deepfake video, it's good to take it apart, right? Typically, you have to take the video, which contains many frames. Some of you might be familiar with editing video. This tool is going to allow you to take a video and capture each frame in that video. Okay. So that means that it just take images of each of the frame. So if your video is about someone talking, right? It could be the first frame could be their face before they open their mouth to say the words and so on. So there are many tools for video analysis similar to this. And so this tool, you can do more than just taking the video frame apart, right? You can also use it to process audio content and also metadata, like what we said. Okay. Now, as you go through the lab, it's really important to know where you are in the terminal, right? Like which folder am I accessing? Is the data here? You just need to make sure that you're in the same folder where the data is stored. Otherwise, you're going to run into problem running the tools. Okay. So the first part is for us to take apart the video into many frames. So the longer the video, the more frames that you are going to have. So if you have a 10-minute video, likely that you are going to have lots of frames. If you only have like a 30-second video, then you're just going to have fewer frames. Now, did you know that when you are sampling voice, or images, right? Like, so if someone wants to deepfake your picture, they just need to have an image of you, right? So if you have a YouTube video of yourself, then they just need to capture that frame and use that image to give to the AI, right, to create another picture of you. Now, for the video, similarly, right, like a clip of your video, right, they can use that and it depends on the tools that they use. So by standard audio recording, they just need about 30 seconds of your voice to be able to generate something you say, right? And this is what you see on fake news and fake celebrity that's AI generated, is that they were able to pull the sample from like news or social media to be able to create deepfake. Okay. So that's what you typically see now. Um, And then later on, you're also going to be running some Python script. It's really easy. So I'll talk a little bit about that. And then the library that you need um, to be able to take the video frame apart. So that's generally what we're doing. We're going to use some kind of tool to detect deepfake. And then we're going to write a script to detect deepfake. And then I wanted to use this other tool, but it wasn't working with me. So, like I said, this is still a work in progress for me. So hopefully by next year, it should be vetted out a little bit more for additional tool. But the tools are fairly new also. So when you use a lot of these open source tools, they're still being improved. So they might not be as best as they can be. But you do see a lot of them are being available now. Any question and do you need any help? I don't know if I have, okay, yeah. I did have you install CV2 module. Let me open that repository. So if you missed that earlier, I shared a little bit. If you want to be a cloud bug bounty hunter or somebody that finds vulnerability, they have programs in Xbox or Microsoft Copilot, and it pays. So if you can check out the requirement on how you can submit, right? And then earlier on, I think Kaggle had a competition on if you're finding if you're able to identify deepfake in 2020, they gave $1 million away, but you can find other places that will reward for the tool that you build. So there's a lot of push in this area and how we integrate AI, right? See you. Okay, so let's look at OpenCV while we wait. So OpenCV is computer vision library. This is typically being used for building AI component for things like deepfake detector or other things. So you can use this for other purposes, but you can go to their repository and it talks about like if you go to their websites, you would see that they provide documentations, resources, um, and then you have OpenCV.ai. So this is like some of the areas for open source to be able to build. And then you can check out their resources on how you can learn computer vision and deep learning and AI through their resources, right? So when you write your Python script, we're going to use CV2, which utilizes OpenCV, right? CV2 is like a library. So when we say library in Python, that's called module. Um, that is like a file that's written in Python, so that way you can integrate it into your program to do certain things, right? And in this case, we are using OpenCV. And then you can also check out their versions, right? Their documentations for specific versions, how to use it. They have tutorial, very well documented, how to install, how to build applications with it, right? Like video input. So if you are building a tool to detect deepfake, or if you're building a tool for deepfake, right? You would consider this particular resource. Okay, so where am I here? Let me check. Okay, so I finished the update and upgrade. As I mentioned to you, I mounted my USB with my data set. So it shows as my volume right here, right? You can go through other ways, but if you open it up, it would show this is my USB drive. And so I just need to find my archive.zip and I'm just gonna drag it to Kali, or you can put it into home because you log in as KALI user, then the home of that user account is like documents in Microsoft for the user account that you logged in as. Okay. And then I can double check and make sure that it's there. Keep in mind that this is a compressed uh, folder, so we want to unzip it in a little bit. Okay, so that will be step 14. I still need to complete step 13. So I'm going to do a sudo app install ffmpeg. You have a terminal that's open. Enter your password. and then press yes to pursue the installation. So these tools right now is not incorporated in a lot of the security-based Linux releases. Down the line, you might see more tools being added for Kali, right? That's a quick install, and it talks about the functionality of the app. Okay. So I mounted my USB and transferred that way. I put down here that alternatively or traditionally you can access Canvas inside your virtual machine. So if you do that, you just open up Firefox and then log into Canvas, go find the lab page and download it. But it's going to come into your downloads folder, so make sure you move it to your home because that's where you're going to be defaulted to when you use your terminal, unless you change directory. So the reason why I had you put it on home is because when you run the command, you don't have to move into other folder. But if it's in downloads, right, you can drag it into home or you can drag it into Kali user folder. And I can double check by using ls, right? And I would list the content of my home folder, and I see that in the red file here. So I'm now going to do step 15 as I already transferred my data set. And whenever you see a zip extension in the file, you can use an unzip command, right? We don't want to use tar. You can use tar, but you have to do it twice to unzip. We're going to do an unzip and then your file name, exactly how it's typed. So it's just archive.zip. So I'm going to unzip it so I can extract it. And in Linux, it shows you the content as it inflates, right? So when it compress, when you unzip it, it's gonna inflate the drive, the files inside that container. So we see that we have a couple of images or a few images, and then we have some video. And I would see that as MP4, right? And then I also have a .mov. So there's some videos, and then I have some deepfake images. All right. So now I forgot to tell you to. So there's one step that I forgot to document for 16, right? Oh yeah, it did deflate it as deepfake. So we are just gonna go ahead and go into deepfake folder directory. So for step 16, you're gonna do cd deepfake. And then I like to always see where I'm at and what I'm working with. So I always do ls. And so when it deflates it, right? So these are some deepfake that you can work with. Okay, so when you extract that archive, it puts that deepfake folder there, and inside it you have some movies, right? Some videos that was generated as a deepfake. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take apart those movies. We're gonna capture frame by frame. Now some tools it allows you to preview the frame, and some tools you cannot. This one is a cleaner tool where you can actually see the frame image, right? And then assess the image. Some tool, it just gives you the frame. It doesn't necessarily allow you to look at it as a JPEG or an image, right? Even though it shows us a JPEG, you cannot preview it. So what we're going to do is after you have installed the tool and you access the directory that contains your file, right? You're going to run the tool. And the way that you run this tool to take apart the video into frame is that you put I for interface, and you're going to give it the name of your video. And then you would follow that up with the option frames and how you want to lay out your frame as JPEG, right? So we're going to convert the video into many frames as JPG file. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm missing a step here, so we need to make sure that. Let me see. Yes. Hold on a second. Yeah, it did not like the file directory. Let me try.
You have to create a new folder in Deepfake called frames.
Oh yeah. It did that automatically for me yesterday. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, I remember that. So we're gonna do a make dir, right? Frames. Yeah, it wants a centralized location, but yesterday I did not have to make that. It created it for me. But anyways, yeah, so if you don't put the path as frames, you can probably get away with it by extracting the frames without having the folder. So yeah, let's add that step. So mkdir, right? And then call it frames. And then now it should because I think that the path if you have the path frames here, you just gotta make sure that it's there. Right? Maybe I was sleepy and I didn't remember to I probably did a frames folder for it. But yeah. So we're gonna add this step to 17. So before you run the tool, just make sure that you make a directory called frames because in the following command, you have to have frames, right? In order to put all the images as frame inside that. Now, in order to see it, you need to CD into frames, right? To view it. Bye. So I added also this step. So for 17, make sure we make a folder called frames, and then we run the command to extract each frame from the video, which is 1.mp4. And then to see those frames, you are going to use CD frames, right? You have to be inside this frames folder to see, and it would look like this. Sorry, purple doesn't show well on the projection, but okay. So before you run that, sometimes I run the command and then I write the steps, and sometimes I got combobulated and then not record the right steps. But we're gonna fix it now. Okay. So when you see that, you are going to first, right? If you want to see the video information, so it gives you the metadata information. Um, Basically it pulls the library, and as you can see, it runs some library, some C library, right? It uses GCC. So there's some library that are C based, and then some libraries that are Python based, but the libraries were used, and then when it ran it, it tells you that this is the the size, right? The encoder of that video. And the metadata is important sometime when you do forensic, especially for these things, right? Let's say that someone used deepfake and commit a crime with your organization and you have to be able to take it apart and see, right? So it gives you the detail about the actual frame and handler name, and then the properties, the buffer size, the frame per second information. So when it took it apart, it tells you like how fast it did that. Okay. So we're gonna screenshot this, and in order to see your frames, right? This is optional. You can do step 18. I shouldn't have to add that. But step 18 takes you to the frames directory. Yeah. Sure. No, your phone. Oh no, it's in your, so you need to put it here, so take and drag it to count. And then you can unzip it. Yeah, it has to be in your directory because otherwise you have to go and access where it's located. Okay, so in order to view images in Linux, you can use a tool called EOG. This allows you to view JPEG. The only reason why we install this so we can look at the picture, right? Like I said, not all tools allows you to, when it takes the frame apart, right? Some tools are better at giving you the image in the frame. If it's not a good frame, you like a blurry video capture, you will not be able to get an actual JPEG out of it. So it depends on the quality of the video. There's like a lot of, so, and then the rate of the video. So the information that you just saw in the last screenshot is kind of important in how each frame can be built, right? So we're gonna install this tool so you can see the picture. And then yes, to proceed with the installation. Yes, you can just go in and open up the file and look, right? It would use the default tool to be able to examine it. So now we're just gonna look at the first frame. So that's what you're gonna see, right? So if someone wants to create a deepfake video, they can just pull a video of someone like this, right? Maybe 30 seconds or a minute of it, and then give it to AI or a tool and then be able to generate deepfake. So you would see an image and so why is it important that we have to pull the frame is because for the next question, I have you, or the question B for number 20, you kind of have to examine these property when you're looking at deepfake, right? Are the edges around the facial blurred or have some distortion? In some tool, when it generates it, the eyes are offset. I'm pretty sure you might have witnessed or seen some of this, right? It's distorted where it's uneven, or some is smaller than the, left eye is smaller than the right eye. It's crooked, right? So it's not at the same level as the other eye. Um, if you watch the video, the sound and the movement of the mouth is not synchronized, so you have a mismatch. The background sometimes is warped. So on this picture, it looks generally okay. If you can pick up any of the things, like sometimes the shadow, like where the chin or the facial shadow, it looks off. So it looks like it's colored in, kind of, right? So you do see, and then if there's flickering on the video or it's glitchy. Lighting is abnormal. So those are the things that you have to look at, right? And if you can't distinguish or if you can't identify those things, then you say, no, I didn't see any of this. So on a good tool, on a good deepfake tool, it looks very realistic, right? And then for a poor tool, if they design it, if they created it and it's not good, you're gonna see these elements. Okay, so we're gonna close the image. And now we're gonna pull the frame apart, or we're gonna look at the 30th or the 35th frame. So you can just do EOG, right, frame underscore 0035.jpg. So that's a different angle of the video for the face, right? Different angle of the face in the video that's captured. So when you look at that, like for me, if you're looking at where the edge of his chin, right, from his ear to his chin, the shadow is a little off from the first picture to the second picture as well. And then sometimes you also see like the reflection shadow might be off. Like if someone was holding a camera, a phone to record this person, right? So if there's abnormal lighting or reflections or things like that, like you should pick it up. And when you analyze it, as an analyst, sometimes you have to go from frame to frame. Okay, so that's what I'm just trying to show you. Any question? Okay. And if you can't identify anything, then you can say no, right? Like it looks normal. It's a lot of it is subjective too. So what our eyes are distinguishing from what's real and what's not real. Okay, so once we have done that, you can also preview. So I'm gonna rerun that, right? And it's gonna allow you to navigate one frame each. And so if you need to examine it frame to frame, right, you can just do that. You just click the arrow and it's gonna take you to the next frame. So in movement for a person that's being recorded, right? Every movement can be broken up into many frames. And so what you see is that you sometimes have to take each frame and then examine each of the frame. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use an online tool. Deepware is pretty effective, right? There are tools now where you can give it a file and it will tell you whether that file is generated by AI or not. So in my virtual machine, I'm going to close the image and I'm going to open up my browser and I'm going to visit HTTPS, or you can copy and paste the URL in deepware.ai. In this one, you can give it a full video because it is a video analyzer, right? It detects deepfake with video files. So once you are on the site, you are going to click the upload button and then go back to home, right? And then we are going to go into deepfake. And you're going to select the MP4, right? Let's say that someone sent you a video, you wanted to see if the video was AI generated, you can just throw it into Deepware and it will tell you, right? Anytime that they utilize any kind of AI tool to modify or alter the video or create the video, it will flag it, okay? So it's gonna look for, like the library, the code, or the metadata that is encompasses with AI. So I tell you here to select, and you can try other files if you want. I'm going to do the first file, and then you're going to have it scan. So if it sees that it is a deep fake, right? If it's AI generated or use AI in alteration of the video, then it's going to tell you. And it would pinpoint exactly when that was created. So a year ago, this was established, right? And a lot of it comes back to the attributes and the properties of the file and the encoding, because application uses encoding to generate the data, right? So what you see is that, the nature of AI has specific things that contribute to attributes and properties and metadata of your file, of your video or image file. Okay, so we can see that it detected deepfake, and you can try other ones on there if you want, right? Now you can go home and make a deepfake and then test it. There are lots of tools to do that. I didn't write it for this lab, but that will be something incoming. Okay, so once now you have experience using Deepware, right? What we're going to do is we are going to write a Python script that uses OpenCV, and CV stands for computer vision. This is typically used for like deepfake tools or deepfake detector tool. We're going to write a Python program or script that detects deepfake, right? But in this one, it's the script itself is going to be just taking the frame apart. So what you have used in ffmpeg, this is how you can write a simple script that does similar thing. But I'm going to tell you that the script itself, it doesn't let you preview like what you see, right? So the property of the frame is not like how you would see in the other tool, but it's definitely doable. It's going to take a video and it's going to take each frame apart. And we're just going to loop through it. So it's going to read the video, right? And then it's going to take each frame in that video and it's going to increment it. So it's, for this, it's going to create and put a name for each of the frame. And then, of course, write that out as a file. Then it's going to close the video because you had it as read, then you have to release it so it doesn't occupy the process when to view or access the video. And then it would inform you that it's done, right? So when you look at that, that's a pretty simple script, right? Just using the library and the methods of the library to be able to access the video and create the frame. And then from there, we would use the frame to examine like what you typically see. But in this case, we can only probably look at the metadata where you cannot preview it in EOG. Okay. So I'm going to come back to my terminal after I close my Deepware. And I want to go back to the previous directory, which contains the video. And I'm going to create the Python script using my text editor, which is Nano. And it's a Python file, so we're going to end it with the .py or file extension. So it's a blank canvas, right? You can copy and paste. Just keep in mind that word encoding for the application is slightly different than other text editors. So if it doesn't pick up your symbols or indentation, make sure that you fix it manually. Okay. So it's a straight copy and paste, right? Before we run this, anytime that you have an import statement, that means that you are bringing in the library file or the Python file that contains functions and methods for computer visions. So you need to install it, right? Because that file doesn't exist on your computer. So you have to download and install it. So in the next few steps, that's what we're going to do. So as you finish your script, you can type it or you can, it color codes it for you though in Nano. We're going to do Control X to save. Press yes, that it's going to be the same name. Press enter. And then what we're going to do is we are going to install the library that for CV2, right? So in order for CV2 to work, you have to install OpenCV, lib OpenCV development package. And if you don't know, you just search for CV documentation, CV2, right, in Python, and it will tell you exactly how to install it. So you learn how to create a script for deepfake detector, right? Basically frame it, frame the video, and then with the script, you know how to install the Python library or the module. All right. Now, the reason why we have to use Python 3, typically if you ever use Python packages, right, you use a pip command and that works in Windows or Linux. However, Kali Linux pip package is not equipped and they don't recommend you use pip with it. Like pip stands for Python install package. Basically, it's a tool that you bring in libraries like this, right? In Windows, you have to initiate pip on its own. So in Debian Linux, it's better if you use Python 3 dash whatever your library names are, right? That's ideal. So that it knows that it needs to link it with your Python package that you already have it installed. So Debian Linux have Python already built in. When you update, it just update the software package. So that way you don't have to install it. But if you use other releases of Linux, you have to install Python. And we don't use Python 2 any longer. It's only Python 3. And so for this package to work effectively, you can look at the documentation. It would be specifically for a certain version and later. I think it's 3.8x. So the current one is like what they're up to 12 or something now, 3.11 or 3.12 or something like that, right? Okay. So once you have the library, then you can run the program. So when you run the program, you can always use Python 3 and then the file name. Sometimes you do a -m for module because all Python files are modules. Right? So what it did was it generated these frames, right? And then it tells you that it's completed. So now what we can do is we can go back to the fake directory and then look into frames. Oh, sorry. Let me go to CD frame. So here, I think you're already in, if you're in deepfake, so just, let me see. Yeah, if it's not molded, it doesn't recognize. So I'm in deepfake, so I just need to do CD. I had two CD. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the same video and we're going to examine the metadata. And exit tool is already comes equipped with the Linux version that you're using. Right? Oh, let me see. Sorry, this is wrong. So you need to come back to Deepfake. So maybe if you're in, let me see where you were. Yeah, you're already in Deepfake, so I don't think that step is necessary. I had you do CD deepfake, right? Dash frames like this. You probably don't need to do this. So if you already just check that you are in deepfake, you are going to run the EXIF tool. So in forensic, EXIF is so important. It tells you about your metadata, like when the file was created, when it was modified, size, all of these things. A lot of tools are built on EXIF tool. Oh, I'm still in frames. I'm sorry. So CD. Okay. So here, right, we know that this is an Apple device that's used to create the deepfake. It also tells you the handler, the encoder, size, megapixel. And when you are checking out like images, sometimes it will also tell you like the location where they took that picture or record if they turn on their geolocation. So EXIF is very important in cybersecurity for the forensic purposes. And also like inspection like this. But our class is supposed to end at 4:30, so I'm right on time. It's good that I keep it short. Okay, so take a screenshot. Now you know how to examine the metadata. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. Of your video, right? And you can try other files on there. So you can find lots and lots of data on deepfake now, right? People generate it and some of them they sell it. You can also use tools to generate your deepfake. So now you know how to examine it. Yeah, in future lab, I would modify this. So for more of an advanced class or I would do a little bit of machine learning with it. But I just want to make sure we have enough time and not overwhelm. Yes.
You get to Deepfake.
Directory?
Yeah.
You were in frames, right? Look at yeah, so CD space dot dot. So I'll put a note of that here. CD space dot dot. That takes you to the previous folder, the parent folder. And then you can just run. And if you want to check to see if the file exists, do ls list, and then you can see. So what did we learn in this lab? We learned what a deepfake is, right? We learned how it can be used. We learned some of the tools to take video deepfake into frames. We learned how to look at metadata for the video itself. We learned how to write a Python script to unframe the video or create frames from the video. And we learned how to use deepware to detect deepfake. And that's what we did today. And you can explain how this is related to your cybersecurity career. I'll upload this fixed version. I'll delete this one. And then let me end my video.